Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome back to a brand new camp build, and we are down in the southern Mire today, building at a very popular bridge location, and we're going to turn this place into a checkpoint come trading post, complete with its own little hidden bunker. So, let's get into it, have a little look, shall we? Okay, chilling out in the bunker here for a moment. This spot is one of the more popular places down in the Mire. It's a pretty cool location, and this bridge makes for a really interesting sort of build and an opportunity to use the environment. So, bit of competition for the location, but this is where we are on the map. So, you're just south of Harper's Ferry here. We'll stream there. There's the Valley Galleria. Camp Venture just to the south, and all the way over here is the White Spring. So, reasonably manageable location. Very, very popular spot. You can see that bridge there at the top that's a random encounter point. So, under the bridge first. I've got the first foundation in. It's not quite where I want it, but it'll do for the moment. This isn't too terribly difficult to do, this part of the build, but it does require quite a lot of patience and trial and error to get things into the right spot. So this spot doesn't quite fit. The bridge is slightly wider than the two foundations, and it's also not the same width all the way along, which is not massively helpful, so kind of got to work with it a little bit. So I'm having some difficulty getting that foundation to snap in at the far end. Some repositioning will be required, but unfortunately I can't get it to snap through on both sides without possibly lifting them way too high, in which case I'll have no headroom, so that's kind of the struggle with this. You need to get the foundations low enough to allow yourself to have some headroom to get some furniture in and to move around, but also have them high enough to get over some of the stuff on the ground that will otherwise prevent you from putting the floors in. So a few adjustments will be required. That gap that we've just got behind us here will get filled in a bit. Unfortunately, just here where we have a box, I can't fill the gap in, but I'll show you both of those in a bit more detail in just a moment. For now, we'll clip these through the bottom of the wall here, and unfortunately it's not happening on this side. But it's close enough, or so it appears. We'll get a little bit of an extension outside of the bridge here, because I want to be able to flip the walls around, and I also want to have a little kind of balcony, I suppose, out on that side as well. This hole here, I should be able to get a foundation in. It's just the build mode is being slightly awkward for some weird reason. When I server hop and come back to it, it'll be fine. This one, unfortunately, you can see the box in there is preventing the foundation from going in at all. If you get the floors low enough, you can actually clip it through in the right position, but it kind of screws everything else up, so we'll have to work around that. But for now, let's get a wall on the end here. Check everything's in the right place. A doorway there. See, looking okay, but we're a little bit too far forward there. I want the stone walls with the whitewash face outwards. That's what the inside facing outwards, as it blends in a little better. But we're going to have to make a few adjustments as that positioning is not quite right yet. So we'll pull all those out. We'll nudge this back a little bit. There we are. Let's test it out. That looks about right, but it's the wrong way around, so in fact it's actually not. But some adjustment later. We come to put the walls back in again. We can see that I still haven't pulled them back quite far enough. It's better, but it's not quite there. So we'll pull all this out again, get back down to that first foundation again. There we go. Nudge it back just a little bit further. There we go. And now we can get the walls in where we want them. Needs flipping around. There we go. Easy to do from that side. Flip that one in. There we go. That's more like it's closing the gap properly and not flipping through at the front. Looks good. And the floor's just low enough that the door fits as well. Wonderful. Now with a little server hop, we can actually plug this gap up. And as before, this one's definitely not going to plug up, so we'll work around that in a bit. Unfortunately, moving those foundations around has meant I can no longer clip things through on this side outside, so we're on the eastern side of the build here. I'm trying to go around a little bit here in the hope of getting that foundation to go in, but unfortunately, because of the adjustment to the position, I can't quite do it. So we're going to have to come up with a bit of a workaround. So first thing I'm going to do, is snap an extra foundation onto the side here. When it wants to do it. It's been a little awkward. It's the joys of trying to build over water, unfortunately. There we go. Now we can pull out these ones that I need to adjust. And with this one no longer snapped, we can just nudge it over ever so slightly. A little bit over to the left there. Now we can snap to this. Not that that's done it, but we'll figure that out in a moment. And that will allow us to snap the foundations in at slightly off position to the ones inside, but you won't be able to tell. And they'll actually go in the right spots. There we go, got that lined up properly now. Unfortunately, I need to put these two back inside because that's currently supporting the walls. There we go, problem solved. I'll pop this back. And that tiny little bit of difference allows the foundation to clip through again. Get that out of the way. This one back on this side. And there we go. Technically, they don't quite line up with the ones inside, but you're not really going to notice. And we now have a balcony all the way across the front. So this is the side where I can't get the foundations to clip all the way through. It's the northern edge. So we'll get some walls in here just to tidy things up a little bit. And build around that opening. Unfortunately, these skeletons are something we just have to live with as well. And we'll get a door in over this side. And would you look at that? It's hidden behind the moss. I do like that. I actually debated taking the other door off so that I could just have a hidden entrance to it, but I want the outside space on that side, so 2 doors it is, and we'll have it semi-hidden. So for the last thing down here for the moment, we're going to get some extra walls in, just sort of compartmentalise this place a little bit more, and we'll come back to it later when we're ready to decorate. A couple more things I do want to do down here. We need a way to get up to the road. So this is the western side, the side with the moss covering the door. We're going to build ourselves a staircase. Unfortunately, as per usual, it's a little bit awkward. So we're going to use 2 of these ramps to get the top of the foundation to sit precisely 1 foundation height above the lower level. But it's not quite high enough. So adjustments shall have to be made. So I'm going to snap one on the edge there, take this off. Now we can pop this up just a tiny little bit. That'll be more than enough. From here I'm going to snap another foundation onto that one we've just lifted up. Not there, not there. There we go. So we can use that to begin putting the ramps in. So there we go. Starting a tiny little bit higher now. A little bit of patience to persuade that top one to go in. We should now be able to snap the upper foundations in. Nice. So we've got a decent point here that we can actually come down from. Another one there, because I want to be able to get through this gap in the railing. So now I can whip these ramps off. We don't need those anymore. These floors back in. Now we need stairs coming down. I'm not going to use this stairs, but I do need something to snap that foundation at the back there up a little bit. So we're going to snap this staircase to this foundation at the top there. You see there's a bit of a gap. And then we can use it to just pop this one up a little bit. Fortunately, the wall in the back there is currently getting in the way. So we'll have to whip that off in a moment. There we go. Now we can just pop that straight up. It snaps to the right height. And now we put this foundation back in, snapping it to the bit inside. We've got that little lip there, but it doesn't really matter. It kind of works with the thing we're doing now, which is putting the concrete stairs in. Just makes it look kind of like it's got one extra step. That works fine. But we've got a big horrible hole here we need to plug up, so we'll stick the wall back in a moment. No amount of trying is going to persuade a foundation to go in there, so I don't know why you even bothered, but there we go. So we'll get this wall in, it can snap to the foundation, and because we can't see the top of it, and we're not putting a roof on, it doesn't matter that they're not technically the same height. So, that's the lower part done, on to the upper part. So we've got this nice big area of road at the top that is well within the build area. As you can see, I've barely scratched the surface on the budget. So we're going to put a kind of checkpoint come caravan point up here, trading post. First things first, we're going to need to wall it off, so a ton of junk walls. Stick with the old mix and match style. The kind of a bonus with this is that not only do you get the kind of junky, scrappy look by mixing and matching, it also works with certain parts of the ground being a bit more temperamental than others. So get some of the junk walls in here, and they work quite well on this bit, but for other sections, you need things like the communist fences or other options. in order to get them to sit properly and not look like they're either floating or clipping in a not acceptable way. So adjustments are required, but it does make that nice scrappy, grab whatever you can and fortify the place wasteland type of look, which is cool. So I've already got that truck there, so I'm just got a building off of that. Makes a good part of the defences. So I'm going to move over a little bit, still looking north here, and we're going to put a gatehouse in, kind of. Kind of fortified gateway, anyway. So I can use the steel frames here from the defences tab. Carefully manoeuvre that one in as close to the barrier on the right as I can get there. Snap on, and that should drop in. If you start on the right and work towards your left, you can actually snap over the top of that concrete divider in the middle there, which you won't be able to do if you just try and place it manually. But now we need to shore this up a little bit. Got the frame in place. So let's flip that junk fence around. Good old reverse junk fence. Nudge that up to the front. Nice. Push it over so it's actually in line. That might help. And there we go. So, next up, we're going to use some of the encampment gates. We're going to use the one here that doesn't snap. We've got the choice, and you sometimes find that with this road surface, the ones that do snap won't actually sit on the road surface for some bizarre reason. But these ones that don't have snapping features seem to work just fine, so get that in there nice and easy. We'll snap a warehouse wall onto the front on this side, just to mix up those textures a little bit. Looking good. I actually went with a little bit of persuasion straight through the concrete barrier as well, which is nice. Now we'll get some railings on the top. For some reason, I can't snap them onto this piece that doesn't have stairs on it. I'm guessing the recent change that mucked things up with Steel Dawn means we also can't snap them onto upper floors is what's causing the problem there, but we've got to make do, so we'll squeeze a guard post in here. I was going to use the wooden one originally, but it just it either looked like it was sticking too far off or it was too far back and you couldn't get past it, so just went with the military style one instead. So over this side, I spent quite a lot of time trying to figure out where I was going to put this perimeter wall frames in. Tried moving them further forward, further back, and finding something that I liked and would work was a bit difficult. So we're right close to the water's edge here and the gap in the barricade. And we'll carefully adjust that. Unfortunately, the concrete edges of the roads are very, very finicky. But starting with the stairs and working our way over allows us to get that to snap in properly. Which that's a little bit too far over, so I have to nudge it across a bit. You can see it does not want to sit when it's clipping through that big block of concrete on the right. But if I adjust it a little bit, I get a little bit more play in it when I lift it up a bit. So these things are really finicky on the road surface for one reason, which is some reason or other rather, which is one of the drawbacks to building here, but a little patience and persistence and we get by. So I don't want to extend this all the way over. I could, but I'd like to mix things up a bit, make it a bit more interesting to look at. So we're going to grab this free states truck bed, piled higher with junk, and unfortunately this is not going to place. Oh, we're detecting a theme. So I'll chuck it down over there, where apparently it will, and then I can now move it into place. One of the more useful approaches there. If something just won't drop in originally, stick it somewhere else and then move it to where you want it. Oftentimes that will bypass the issue you're having, whatever it may be. So I've got that in there. We're going to ease some junk walls up against it. Going to mix and match once again with the junk walls. This one on a bit of an angle. I do like that particular wall. It's a different shape, it's a different style, but it sticks out quite a bit, so you have to use it a little bit creatively, otherwise it just kind of... It just doesn't look right. It sticks out in a way that doesn't really fit, either inside or outside. So using it on a bit of an angle like this works quite well for closing the corner off and making it look reasonably sturdy. Bit of an issue getting close to that barricade, but we'll manage. So with that light in place, let's shore up the front of this frame. I managed to snap the half wall into the bottom there and put the one with the windows on top, just to change the textures a bit, do it a bit differently from the other side. We'll nudge our gate in. Now I'll grab this junk fence. And unfortunately I can't get quite up against the perimeter railing on this side. And I can't snap a wall on either, unfortunately. So we'll stick that on at a bit of an angle, which is a little scrappier. So the last couple of bits and pieces now, we're just going to drop downstairs and fence off the bottom part of this stream on the western side here. This took a lot of fiddling and trial and error for something so simple, but we got there in the end. The communist fences are really, really good for that. If we haven't picked them up, they'll probably make a reappearance in the atomic shop sooner or later. You can see that one's just headed straight outside the build area, which is not particularly helpful. Placing these in water can be a bit difficult, and junk fences and the like won't go in water at all, but with this one I was able to lift it up just high enough to get it to sit there, and starting at the left-hand end here worked much, much better. So, one set of these fences has a snapping mechanic and the other doesn't, so if you're having a bit of difficulty, switch over to the one that doesn't and place them manually. It gives you a bit more flexibility. Unfortunately, I was 3/4 of the way through this before I actually thought to do that, but they were not originally part of the initial pack. It was updated to add that feature, so that's quite cool. Unfortunately, they still spin it around one end rather than a central axis, which is very, very annoying. But, piece by piece, we'll get these in place. Make sure to wear your hazmat suit for this. There we go. And now we'll use this last one that doesn't snap and persuade it not to jump up into the air. Eventually. I was getting quite frustrated by this point, can you imagine? There we go. I didn't really want so much of a gap between the fence and the concrete on the right there, but any closer and the thing just pops up into the air, so gotta do what we gotta do. But there we have a nice little enclosed area that will eventually house our water purifiers. So over on the other side, I've done basically the same thing to close up the river at the top there. Just keep anything from coming downstream at the camp. We're going to extend our fence around a little bit here. Tried a few different bits and pieces, but with a very, very narrow bit of rock face here. The communist fence is about the only thing that works. The encampment fences, the spiky raidery ones, do work, but unfortunately they're not quite tall enough with that piece of rock there, so communist ones work a bit better for this job. Now we've got that one in, we'll switch back to the regular old junk fences. Tuck that one in. Not quite far enough over there. You'll see it's trying to pop up a little bit, which does happen quite a lot when you're building this general area, so something to bear in mind. You have to come around the back and nudge that over, because doing it from the side where you can actually see what you're doing apparently is not allowed. So, very nearly there. Well, we'll have to continue doing the junk fences on the other side of the camp, but you've got the general idea, I'm sure, by now, and it's just more of the same, so we'll have a look at them in a bit more detail in the tour in a moment. This last one was being a little bit awkward to get in, and I wanted to squeeze it in quite a tight gap, so don't do this very often, but breaking out the rug glitch in 76, just drop that thing on top of a doormat so that it'll move with the doormat. And I'll carefully manoeuvre it in. Incidentally, it's the same technique as in Fallout 4, only slightly less flexible, so if you are interested in learning how to do it, I do have a video on that somewhere. I might have to scour the playlist, or just type rug glitch into the search, and I'm sure it'll come up. But that has allowed us to fill that gap quite nicely. We'll just need to close this little section up here, as we've got a bit of an opening. So go to my old favourite, the Red Rocket gas station sign. Squeeze that in, and there we go. So as I say, there's still a few more bits of junk walls to do, but you've probably got the general idea by now, and rather than just repeating it over and over, we will head off, decorate, and take a look around this place. So, tour time. Got a nice afternoon in the mire here to have a little look around, and I went from somewhere between the 3rd and 50% budget when I'd finished the main structures to very nearly 100% by the time I'd done the decoration on this. I ended up putting a lot of detail in this, which is pretty cool. Could have kept on going, to be honest, but we ran out of budget. Still, the thing looks complete and full, so that's cool. Let's head on inside. A few responders flags out, as I don't have any of the Free State stuff, and we don't have any Brotherhood stuff yet either, so kind of a responders trading post, I'm figuring. A few mine cars. These were from one of the packs that were sold around the launch of Wastelanders, so there are other options that are similar, but those ones are quite cool when they fit in. There are truck bed versions of those mine cars, but they take up a little bit more room, so that's why I went for the mine cars. One of the few builds I'm actually able to use the Vault-Tec awnings in as well, so actually had enough outside flat space for it on this, which is cool. Let's head on out to the other side, and I'll show you what I did on this side. And see, the gatehouse is much the same as the other side, with just a few little adjustments. I'll cross on over to the other side. Just to dress that wall up a little bit, I've chucked a fusion flea stash box there, suitably appropriate for being on a road, and a few other bits and pieces as well. Now this area here, I needed somewhere to grow a few extra crops, specifically my gourds. So I've just walled this off with the junk fences and a few tyres just to make sure that nothing's floating too much or unsupported. And that just provides us a little area to grow some stuff overlooking the water purifiers down there. Just about get through here. I actually came up with a really good way of sort of creating a one step to get up there, but I forgot to do it on that gate. I'll show you where I did it in a bit. It's a neat little idea that I'm quite pleased with. It's made for a very smooth transition where I couldn't quite step up before, which is nice. As I say, I'll show you in just a moment. We'll head back on inside. Little vault boy there to, if I can get this gate shut. There we go. Just point the direction down to the vendors for anybody arriving from this side. So a little look up from the defences. I don't normally put many turrets in, and I could have taken those out and added a little bit more build budget if I'd wanted. But this place being where it is does get attacked quite regularly. I had cave crickets and radtoads so far, so good to have the little bit of extra defences and warning as much as anything else. A couple of rugs down inside the tent for our command post for the checkpoint aspect of the build. Decent view out down the road here. It's a good spot this, I really like it. I do love the lighting in the mire, the colours are absolutely brilliant here. Slowing down a little bit. If you ever look under this stairway here, you can actually access the corner and stuff I've tucked on that side, just underneath the stairs there, which is nice. But let's head on around behind the tent towards our slightly hidden staircase and check out the bunker. I'm pretty pleased how this one's come out as well. So head on down. A little bit of extra decoration down here. It's not hidden, but it's kind of out of sight. We've got a little set of shelves up the top there, just to stop anybody falling off. A little bit of dressing down in the bottom there. Could have put a few more plants perhaps in the water. That would have been nice if I'd had a bit more budget. Let's open up the door. I've actually used the flying fortress door here. Technically speaking, it won't snap onto regular walls, but if you put one of the doors on the same row that will snap and then go into the scrapping menu and swap it out, it will actually replace just fine, and then you can use it. Same goes for that vault door halfway along there. We've got lots of crafting benches, everything we need along this narrow part of the bunker area. Plenty of light. I went for the tiled flooring and the breeze block walls we've got up there, just because it kind of keeps the bunker vibe a little bit more, and it also has a little bit of extra light, so kind of the best of both worlds. Let's have a little look out onto the back patio here. Our power armor station tucked in there. Gone for the high-tech ones and needed the space. Plenty of water purifiers, so hopefully I can just rack up a few extra caps that way while I'm here. Got our fusion generator tucked on the back. Symptomatic, and a decon arch as well. So I've gone for the white metal door here, just kind of blends in a little bit and it's a little harder to spot. Which works quite nicely. Tried to cram as much decoration as I could onto the walls and stuff in here as well, just to break up the surfaces. So they're a little bit plain and drab, so quite happy with how that's come out. Bit of a tight squeeze to get the Brotherhood round table in, but we managed. That thing is huge. A few bits and pieces of decoration. And the vault door, which was added with the shelters. So it's kind of handy to have. It saves on a little bit of space, especially as we've got a very, very small little bedroom here for everybody who lives and guards this place. Not particularly private, but everybody's got somewhere to get some kit. I guess they're sharing lockers, but we do. Again, as I say with this door, it's just a case of snapping in one that will go into place and then basically selecting the scrap menu and swapping it out that way. Little enclave hidden door here with our one space that we can't build in. So, a few bits of decoration. I dropped our shelter entrance in here as well, which works quite nicely. Little hidden bomb shelter in our hidden bomb shelter, I suppose. But I do like it. I found an excuse to use those copper heads as well, which is cool. So there we go. One checkpoint come trading post, complete with its own hidden bunker. So if a little look at this shelf on the side of the road there, that is my canning plan for a step. This thing actually, if you position it at just the right height, as you can see, allows you to transition nicely up there where I couldn't get up at all before. So that's a nice little trick. I'm really pleased to discover that. So one for the books, that one. Kind of wish I'd remembered to put it on the other side, but we might have to do something about that eventually. Alright, little view up from up here again. Really pleased with this. Nice, busy, scrappy checkpoint. Looks pretty good. Looks like it belongs. So, I hope you folks did enjoy that one. If you did, please do hit those subs and likes for me. It's always very, very much appreciated. Social media links, merch store, channel memberships, all available down below the video as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel that way, it's humongously appreciated. And if you get a chance to join us for the live streams as well, playing plenty of Fallout and carrying on with Cyberpunk at the moment as well. So, I look forward to seeing you then. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.